Hey, I'm Davin Friedman, class of 2026. Welcome to the Rambler Podcast.
And I'm Natalie Spano, class of 2026. Before you dive into this episode, we wanted to share a quick message with you.
At Cathedral Prep, every opportunity we have in the classroom, on the field, and beyond is made stronger by the Fund of Excellence.
This fund supports tuition assistance, academic programs, athletics, and faith formation. Everything that makes prep.
When you give, you help students like us thrive.
Please make your impact today by visiting www.cathedralprep.com/give. Thank you for believing in us.
Hi everyone, my name is Jimmy Smith. I am a proud member of the Cathedral Prep class of 2011 and I have the pleasure of working here at Prep in our Advancement and Alumni Relations office. Welcome to episode number 92 of the Rambler Podcast, where we are passionate about sharing what makes Cathedral Prep the standard of excellence. I'll be your host for today's episode, and we're excited to be joined by Abby Lechner as a guest. It was just over 30 years ago that Abby chose to attend Villa Maria Academy, where she was a member of the swim, tennis, and track teams, as well as several clubs, including student council and campus ministry. A very talented pianist, she earned a music scholarship to Villa and joined her classmates at graduation with James Taylor's "You've Got a Friend." After graduating, Abby attended Xavier University, where she rowed crew and earned an honors degree in business. She began her professional career with a national recruiting firm in Charleston, South Carolina, where she worked for several years before returning to Erie, marrying her husband, Matt Lechner, Cathedral Prep class of 1991. Soon after, her passion for volunteerism and philanthropy flourished. She served on the Erie Art Museum's board of directors, chairing its 2010 grand opening event, as well as the Sisters of St. Joseph's Neighborhood Network board, where she chaired the Name That Tune Gala and served as board chair. Following a brief hiatus after welcoming twin daughters, Catherine and Meredith, in 2013, Abby resumed her commitment to the community with her service. In 2014, she joined the Hammett Health Foundation's Board of Corporators, later becoming a board member and chairing the successful Corporator campaign that led to the creation of Mommy Daddy databases and Biobank, an initiative focused on improving maternal and infant health outcomes. Abby has been a proud member of the Erie Women's Fund for 8 years and also serves as a trustee for the Erie Cemetery Association. In 2018, Abby achieved 2 major goals. She launched Human Capital Associates, an HR consulting firm providing fractional HR services and outsourced recruiting in Northwest Pennsylvania, and enrolled in the Executive Masters of Human Resource Management program at Cornell University, graduating in 2019. And since 2020, Abby has served on the Cathedral Prep Board of Directors. She co-chaired the Transition Committee responsible for the successful consolidation of both schools onto one campus. She currently chairs the board's Advancement Committee and chaired the first post-COVID Legacy Gala, which welcomed more than 500 guests and raised $250,000, which I had joined her as a part of that committee and that team welcoming everybody back for Gala. As a parishioner of St. Patrick's Church, Abby and her family support the annual Erie Irish Festival, where she has served as a committee chair for the past decade. She enjoys playing tennis, planning her next travel adventure, and supporting her daughter's activities. And I like this quote here. One of her guiding quotes is, "To whom much is given, much is required." And Abby added in here for us, "Our family is sincerely grateful for the joy and opportunity the Erie community has brought to our lives, especially our Villa and Prep community, and we are always inspired to do more." What a great introduction. Abby, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, sure thing. I think anybody listening to this right now is saying, wow, she is a busy woman.
Yes, that's one way to put it.
And it's so great to see your commitment to the community. I think, your story, you're in Charleston, came back to Erie. I was only gone for a short time when I went to Slippery Rock and came back to Erie, but I've always just loved Erie, and I think it's important for people like yourself and their community doing work like you're doing, and I'm grateful for the efforts and things you've been a part of.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Yeah. But maybe we can start back at the roots and talking a little bit about your time at Villa.
Absolutely.
Yeah, circling back to there. It's always a fun question I like to start off with is asking, why did you even decide to attend Villa Maria Academy?
Sure. Well, I attended only one open house, and that was Villa's, and had a memorable shadow visit. So the choice was really clear right away. all my interactions, everyone referred to VMA as the Villa family, and that really resonated, especially at that formidable time in those early teenage years. My mom and my aunts also had wonderful experiences at VMA, so it was a pretty easy decision for me.
Yeah, that's fun. And I think when you have some of those family roots and connections as well, it helps out. And you were pretty involved at your time at Villas as well, right?
I was. Kind of jumped into everything. A lot was presented to us as freshmen, and there was as much as you wanted to do athletically, different clubs and activities.
And was that kind of your natural instinct to jump into new things, or did Villa help kind of, inspire you to pursue some things maybe you didn't know you had an interest for at first, or how did that go for you early on?
Sure. So, a little bit more about that experience as a freshman. Going to Villa, my world was very small, a 1 mile radius of home, OLCS, my grade school, St. Jude's, my church. So meeting classmates from all over Erie was really exciting. Everyone was kind, was welcoming, and genuinely happy to be there. And a lot, again, was presented to us. It was very easy to get involved and kind of find your calling in terms of, clubs and sports and service opportunities. And no one celebrated quite like Villa. Of course, we had Mary's Day and Sports Day, Spirit Week, what else? Celebration of Gifts. And prom, which I co-chaired with two wonderful friends. We still laugh to this day about how very seriously we took our roles.
Well, it's important as high school seniors, to be able to take those positions very important, and they're, be responsible with that, because prom's a big deal when you're 17, 18 years
Sure
old.
is.
And that's funny, though. It's almost like a precursor to, your position now with the school and helping with the gala, the transition committee, all the things you do with the board, and thank you as well for your service on the board. But I'm sure 17, 18-year-old Abby was not one day envisioning she'd be on the board of the school.
No, not at all.
And then were there any teachers or coaches or people that were in your life from Villa that really resonate with you when you think about those years?
Sure. It was really fun thinking back, reflecting on those mostly teachers who had a real impact. A few in particular that come to mind. Miss Tan, I took her AP Art History class, and I'm not an artist at all, but she really made the subject unforgettable, and I find it very interesting to this day. Another inspiring teacher, actually our student council advisor, Mrs. Annika Walker. She taught me a lot of invaluable lessons in, ownership, discipline, accountability, over 4 years of student council activity. Almy Clerkin and I still laugh. I took her drama class and thinking it would be fun, but everyone was required to get up on stage and sing, which again kind of pushed us out of our comfort zone, but in a good way. And last but not least, Father Mike DeMartinez. Father Mike was in his early days of the priesthood and really made an impression through his involvement at our retreats. Now I see him obviously as campus minister here at Prep, and he's the pastor of our family's parish at St. Pat's. But I can only imagine how many young lives Father Mike has impacted, mine included.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you talk to Father Mike, and he'll say, "Yeah, I had 7 baptisms last week, 5 marriages, a couple funerals in there." And he had to do church on top of that and teach at Prep. And
enviable energy.
Right, yeah. It's great, though. People like Father Mike and some of the faculty that you mentioned, Almy, some of the people who have been a part of the Prep and Villa community and family for all these years, and how much they played a role in all of our lives, growing up. And then to be on the other side of things where, like you said, now you're connected with Father Mike in other ways, and it's fun to continue that relationship
Full
on.
circle.
Yeah, it really is. And in reading your bio, you've been able to do a lot of things since your time at Villa. Very accomplished and very successful with what you've been able to do. You've built a very dynamic career, along recruiting and HR consulting, executive leadership positions. I guess, twofold question. One, what kind of led you into the line of work that you're in? And then what are maybe some core skills that guide you in this type of work?
Sure. I think, I realized probably going back to high school that I was an extrovert, and the business of people was exciting to me. I was interested in business, and going into college, I knew I didn't want to go into finance or economics, and HR was actually offered within the business program at Xavier. And I just really loved the coursework, and my first job was recruiting, and that's what I do every day ever since, and just learn new creative strategies to improve my practice, but really enjoy the working with people and helping solve human capital problems and looking for efficiencies and helping my clients be as great as they can.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've had some great moments, challenging moments, learning moments, and starting your own company and getting that going. And when you were launching your business, Human Capital, what gap did you kind of see in the marketplace that led you to creating this consulting firm?
Sure. After working with 2 consulting firms, I recognized a real need for outsourced fractional HR services. Many organizations are not large enough to justify a full-time HR presence, or what they have in existence needs some help, more project-oriented work. So recruitment has also been a core focus of my career from the beginning, and I just really enjoy working with mostly companies, family-owned companies, and nonprofits in the Erie area, just helping them build a really strong team and be successful for the long term.
For somebody listening right now who maybe they own a business or they're in a position that they're looking for new employees to join their team, what have you learned about people in regards to finding the right placements for your clients and whatnot? What have you kind of learned about people in terms of what are some things that we should look for in prospective employees to have join our team?
Sure. I mean, qualifications and experience are paramount, but I'm always happy if I can find someone who will say meets 7 or 8 out of 10 important qualifications, but has just a fantastic work ethic and good people skills, those soft skills that demonstrate a good fit for a company. Fit is, I believe, equally as important as those qualifications and experience. It is a very competitive landscape everywhere. And again, whether you're running a manufacturing company or a nonprofit, it's important to get creative with recruiting methods, leveraging your mission and your brand, and really looking for ways to prioritize retention of the employees that you have. Things like professional development, upskilling opportunities, and just really driving a strong, appreciative organizational cultures. Those are some things that really help people stick around.
Yeah. Those are all, I'm sure, fun and interesting to try to help clients identify the right, people for their positions.
Sure.
I remember the first time that I actually talked with you. This was back in 2021. It was November. I remember I was still working at my other place of employment, and I had met with current president Dave Slomsky at the time and our VP of advancement, and you were unable to attend, but then you gave me a follow-up phone call to connect with me and talk to me about the potential of coming back to prep to work in our advancement department, which was new to me. And I was just very excited to come back to prep. I had worked at the event center for a few years. The transition occurred, and I could see there was a great need and opportunity here at the school to build and grow something new. And so it was nice to connect with you at that time, and all these years later, we've continued to do some good work together.
Absolutely, and we are very grateful that you decided to return.
No, it's been a fun, 4 years or so being back here and working with great people like yourself and whatnot. And one of the questions I was excited to ask you about was, okay, so you mentioned in your bio you completed your executive master's degree at Cornell in 2019. While raising your young twins and launching your business, I have 4 young kids, as you know, and life is busy. But add what you were doing on top of that, and I didn't mention any of the philanthropic community service work you were doing at that time too. How did you manage that season of life, and what mindset did you kind of carry through it?
Great question. I would say I've done what I consider to be 2 very hard things in my life, both around that time frame. The first was beating cancer in my mid-30s when our girls were just 1. That experience really shaped my perspective and taught me never to take opportunities for granted. After recovering from my surgery and treatment, I applied for and was accepted into Cornell's Executive Master's Program. I'd say balancing family, work, and school just required an unbelievable level of organization and discipline. I leaned heavily on my husband Matt's unwavering support. He's an incredible husband and father. We also wanted to show our girls that you can do hard things, and that with gratitude and focus and pride, you can accomplish anything.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, praise the Lord for your recovery and everything, and then having to go through that season of still pursuing your career, raising your girls. Like you said, Matt being a great support system for you through that all. It's just amazing, to be able to see how God can work during those seasons of our life to help give us the strength to carry through what needs done.
Very grateful.
Yeah. Any tips for us busy people out there listening? Things that you learned during I know you said extreme, unbelievable organization skills. Anything particular that you would mention that really helped you? Whether it was, you had a specific calendar system or anything that you did that might help us, who are really busy seasons of life.
Sure. I mean, the amount of work that was required for that master's program, I essentially locked myself in my office every Sunday, all day. We would, go to mass if we didn't go on Saturday night, and that was how I spent probably 10 to 12 hours every Sunday.
Wow. And
then one night per week, I'd work on classwork. So
yeah,
just got into that groove. Some courses were harder than others, but it was a very supportive program too. There were, I think, 40 of us approximately that were in the program, and we leaned on each other and supported each other, and learned a tremendous amount from my classmates in that program.
And earlier you were talking about the role Annika Walker played in your life with student council and just teaching you that hard work, determination, getting the job done. And it's cool to see that transpire all those years later and still carry on to, the hard work and effort that you did for that time. That's
very true. One of the things that Villa taught me was, again, you can do hard things. The bar, it was high for me, for you, and for the students at Cathedral Prep right now, it's a high standard. But they also show you, they give you the community and the skills to get there. So if you're willing to do hard things, you'll feel this tremendous sense of accomplishment when it's all done. Yeah.
Sometimes it can look daunting, it can look scary, but it's amazing when you walk through that season and you get to the other side. The amount of confidence you build in yourself too when you do hard things like that. Well, sticking on this the HR topic, what sort of trends in HR and talent development do you believe that organizations, and I guess especially nonprofits, just can't afford to ignore nowadays with the way the job market and the way things are going nowadays?
Sure. I think going back to retention tools, recruiting is very difficult. A lot of organizations in the Erie area are coming up on different retirements. So preparing for those retirements by giving yourself enough time to do a thoughtful search and find the right successor. That's important, but retention tools are huge. The cost of benefits, things like insurances and retirement, they're very expensive. So it's got to be balanced out with some intangibles. If you have the ability to offer your employees with families some flexibility, that goes a long way. I find people will value a week's vacation more than many thousands of dollars in their compensation plan. So again, looking at ways to create a meaningful organizational culture, one of recognition and encouragement. Sending people for training and continuing ed is huge. It shows you're willing to invest in them. They're more likely to in turn commit to you.
Yeah, it's amazing. All the things you're talking about, it takes intentionality, right? You got to be able to make a decision as an organization that this is a priority for us. And we want to make sure that we recognize our people, we reward them, and they feel good about where they work and they're happy to be there.
Absolutely. And those things are easy to slip away, and you've got the challenges and pressures of running a business and, being profitable, but it's really important not to overlook the people that show up for you every day.
Yeah, certainly. It's important for us all to be able to do that. And speaking of people, you've been working with people throughout your career, of course, through your work, but also with your community service. You've led some very major initiatives from campaigns, be a part of boards, co-chairing boards, the gala committees, as we mentioned. How would you describe your leadership style, and has it evolved over the years as you've had more experience under your belt?
Sure. I think it's important to lead by bringing the right people together, setting clear goals, and enthusiasm. Since returning to Erie in 2009, I've met incredible people through serving on boards and committees and in campaigns, and the common threads, without a doubt, are a level of passion for what you're involved in. If I'm not genuinely committed to the cause and I'm not having fun with the team, it's just simply not going to work.
Yeah. I know one of them that was mentioned that you're a part of Erie Women's Fund, and all the various things that you've done there. You mentioned when you first came back to Erie, the Sisters of St. Joseph Neighborhood Network, they got you involved there. It was very neat to read your background for the bio today, to see all the different things that you've been a part of. This might be a question more for me than anyone else listening, but how do you approach leading teams made up primarily of volunteers? And I think anybody who's listening that works at a nonprofit right now is shaking their head laughing because they agree. That can be sometimes some of the more challenging, leadership is when they're volunteers, they're there to help out the cause. So especially in, philanthropic and in community projects, I guess, how do you approach leading teams made up of that kind of demographic of people?
Well, with volunteers, I think it's important to look at their strengths. That can be time, energy, financial resources, different occupational strengths that they bring to the table, but connecting their strengths to meaningful outcomes. They want to see, the tangible impact of their efforts, so they feel valued and, confident that their contributions are making a difference. And they're more likely to, again, just like in the workplace, if they're more engaged, they're more likely to come back next year and help you with next year's gala or another campaign or whatever that may be.
Yeah, they're there for a reason, right? They have a reason, being that they care about the organization. Everyone's got different strengths, and however we can best work with them to utilize those strengths to keep them connected and engaged and support the mission that we're there for. That's the most important thing. That's a lot of fun, and you've certainly had quite the experience in leading different groups for sure.
Yes.
So then on the other side, what's a leadership experience or challenge that maybe helped shape you more than you expected? That could be personally, professionally, something that you've gone through that helped you with that.
Sure. Well, you mentioned in the bio, there was a transition team that was assembled by myself and a fellow board member, TJ Richter. When the consolidation was occurring, we pulled a number of people together, about 20 people, including students from both schools, alumni, teachers, administrators. Father Mike was involved in that. And we just listened, and we listened to concerns, we listened to ideas. And, that was a very challenging time, but we're able to generate some really strong ideas that were backed by the opinions of those most affected.
Yeah.
So that, I would say that was a challenge, but something with, it led to some great outcomes, no doubt.
Yeah, I would say so. It was fun for my experience with the transition to see how everything transpired. When I left after my first stint, it was that I left in August of 2020. That fall, everything was announced of what was going to happen with the campuses, the new building, and all the things that were happening. And then when I came back 15 months later, it felt like a totally new school environment, a new leadership, all the things that happened through those times. It was fun to see the progression of it from there, because I still had that school year. That was the last one for prep, last one for Villa. Got to see them all come together, all that transpired from you guys and your work from the transition committee. And of course, we've talked enough about how successful that first school year was and the momentum that has just continued to grow off of that. So although, yes, I can imagine very challenging for yourself, you mentioned TJ and others, how rewarding it must be for you now to look and see what has kind of came of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I look back at my time at Villa, it was tremendous. But there were things that we didn't have access to, things like dual enrollment at Gannon and ROTC and other, clubs and such. And I looked at this as not only a result of a changing community. Erie community has changed, and we, need to adapt to that, but also an equalizer. And it makes me very happy to think about, my girls coming to school here in a couple of years and having access to everything they deserve, but all the while still enjoying and nurturing those things that made Villa so special. Mary's Day is, I think, better than ever. Would encourage anyone to join the live stream of next year's Mary's Day ceremony. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, certainly. The first Mary's Day I experienced would that have been spring of 23 for that school year here. And I had never, of course, been to Mary's Day. That was a Villa tradition, but having it in the Cathedral, I was just blown away by how amazing that ceremony is. I could see why, when you talk to Villa alum, they always talk about Mary's Day and Sports Day. Those are the top two things that come up. And I can see why Mary's Day has been such a special tradition for so many years at Villa, and now it's been such a great tradition for even the boys and girls here at Prep, and why they embrace that day. And it's a great celebration of faith on that day, and being able to have that towards the end of the school year just so appropriate.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah. But yeah, all really good stuff. And I guess now's a good time too to maybe ask you, as you were talking about the transition team and being excited about your girls coming here, for any like Prep or Villa alum who might be listening to this episode, maybe they haven't came for an event yet, or they haven't seen the school yet. What maybe would you share with them, Abby, in regards to your message to maybe a Prepperville alum who's just kind of waiting by the sidelines still about everything that's happening with the school nowadays?
Sure. I would just encourage them to lean in a little bit more and pay attention to the magazines that come out. The Legacy magazine does a wonderful job of highlighting what students are up to, but also stopping in and taking a tour. One of the things I think it's hard for anyone outside the school to notice is that walking through the halls, kids are so happy. They're smiling. Boys and girls are eating lunch together and studying together and supporting each other. That anyone who's concerned about certain legacies and traditions being continued, I think would be very happy to see how well it's gone. And again, that it's very equitable. I think it's nearly 50-50 boys and girls in almost every class.
Yeah, it's very close to it indeed, and it is fun so if you're listening and you're thinking of taking Abby up on her offer to do a tour, reach out to me, because I'm usually the one who's hosting a lot of those alumni tours. It's a lot of fun. If you're a Prep alum, a lot of the building is new, and then a lot of it is the same, so you'll recognize where Jim Shar's classroom was, or Tony Del Rio, or name your teacher. But if you're a Villa alum, it's also a lot of fun because there's so many different relics and things from the Villa campus that we brought onto our campus that it's fun to walk through and point those out as to why we put them there and what they're for, and whatnot. So yeah, reach out to me if you'd like a tour, because I always enjoy doing those and it's a lot of fun. And getting back to you, Abby, on this, so your commitment to civic leadership, it runs deep. You've been doing a lot in the community. You've had a lot of different experience. I'm sure you've met so many amazing people through the years. I guess, what drives you for your passion for being involved in the community and helping make a difference?
I've always believed that if you want a strong community, you have to take part in building it. If not me, then who, right? That mindset was really shaped starting at VMA, where I learned that success means, contributing or being part of something that's larger than yourself, right? Matt and I, we choose to live and work and raise our girls here in Erie, and we want this community to thrive. So sitting back and hoping for the best just isn't an option.
That's exactly right. It takes all of us to make a difference, and if you're just going to sit by the sideline, then I don't think you have room to necessarily complain about why things aren't further along and whatnot. I always like when people have suggestions, because I always invite them to be a part of it with us and help make a difference. So it's just kudos to you again for everything you and Matt do for the community and being a part of that.
Thank you.
Now, a little bit more of a tactical question. You've chaired events from museum galas to healthcare campaigns, from the Name That Tune gala with the sisters, and obviously a lot of fundraising efforts on Prep side of things that you've been involved in. I guess, what makes a fundraising or a community event truly successful, like in your mind? Like, what does it take to make that happen?
I think it's, anyone can serve good food and drinks and have great music, but, having a sincere connection to whatever the mission or the initiative is, storytelling, I think, is very powerful. At the Legacy Gala, we hear, students give, sometimes talk, alumni who've, attributed a lot of their life success to having gone to school at Villa Prep, tell their story. Going back to the Hammett Health Foundation, I told my cancer story on behalf of, an event there, and it was tied directly to a need in the community to help provide better health care options. So everyone in the room, I think, listens. They lean a little bit more. They listen and feel, compelled to participate and contribute.
Yeah, that makes sense. When we're all tied to that common mission, it could be 500 people, it could be 100 people for the size of the event, but when everyone's kind of beating the same heartbeat, the same excitement levels, and they care about the mission, that's obviously a major success. Yeah, that's great. All right, to go back to some prep topics, some Prep Villa topics. So we've been talking about the major role that you've been playing in terms of the transition committee. You've been a member of the board. You're the chair of our advancement committee, and you've been a part of a lot of things over the last few years as this whole experience has unraveled. If you can maybe share with the community of listeners for this, what were some of the key principles that helped guide that process for you, for other board members that you were working with? What were some of those key principles that really helped guide a lot of those decisions that were made?
Sure. Well, I think, going back to reflecting on my time at Villa, being at Villa and a part of that family meant being part of something bigger than myself. It's not just about classes and college prep, but it was about living out the mission of the SSJs. Their mission is uniting people with God and one another by serving our neighbor without distinction. And service was woven into everything we did at Villa, and I'm sure for you at Prep as well. But wanting to see that service to others along with academic excellence continue. And as I mentioned earlier, I think, having equitability amongst the boys and the girls is really important. And we've been able to see now the excellence, generated from the last couple of classes. But it's been both challenging and extremely rewarding to be part of, a part of this whole transition and of service on the board as well. Yeah.
Well, it seems like a common theme through a lot of your answers here today has been keeping your eyes on the mission, keeping that as the main focus. And when it comes to prep, keeping the mission in focus of the students that are in the building now, that's the most important. And also our faith, hearing you talk about, that those guiding principles for what it means for God in our lives, and keeping faith as the center point of why we're doing what we do, and helping these students here at Prep experience that. Those are the guiding principles, right? What's best for the kids that are here now, and then how can faith be an element in everything we do?
Just setting them up for success throughout their lives.
Yeah, amen to that. And so you're the chair of our advancement committee, which has been great to work with you on the last few years that you've been a part of that. So in your purview, how do you view Prep's biggest opportunities? It could be in regards to fundraising, alumni engagement, but how do you view that area of the school's opportunity to engage with alumni and participate in that?
Well, I think Prep's greatest opportunities lie in, deepening alumni engagement through annual giving, things like participating in fundraising events like the Legacy Gala and tax credit programs, that really emphasizing that these contributions of any amount directly support student financial aid.
Yeah.
Every year, I know there are great kids with great families that want to come here and they can't.
Yeah.
So, for anyone listening, any, Villa or Prep alumni whose career, family, faith have been shaped by their experiences, this is an opportunity to pay it forward, giving future students the same transformative experience.
Yeah, it's amazing, me being on the other side of that, where I've been able to meet people who've been supporting the school for 30 years, 20 years, whatever it is. And, for me, I graduated in 2011, and I realized, wow, they were giving to Prep when I was just a student here. And then you realize the importance it is for us to start to pay it forward. Now, maybe me in my life state of having young kids, I can't give as much as I'd like to give, But the importance that as you were sharing, is the participation. Just being able to pay it forward, whatever the amount. It doesn't matter. It's about just being a part of that. To say, you know what, I had such a great experience and who I've became. It's important for me to pay that forward and give back as well. So I appreciate you mentioning that, because it is a big part of what we try to do. Is it's not always the biggest gift. It's about the most amount of people supporting the cause.
Absolutely. That's everything.
Yeah. So a couple last questions for you as we'll wind down our time on the podcast. So from your perspective, what makes the Villa and Prep community so special?
Well, when I reflect on the impact that Villa has had on my life, a couple of things make this a really special community. Again, you're part of a family that started for me in 1994 and has continued. I love running into classmates and other Villa alum and prep classmates as well. I think too, the standards are high. We learned then, and it's continued, has continued present to the present, that we can do hard things with hard work and perseverance. I truly believe the Villa and Prep we attended and the school today helps kids be their best. And we're a family of about 20,000 rooted in faith, united by service, community, and just a shared purpose. And these are all values I hope, to pass along to my daughters.
Yeah. It's amazing. Although the building may look a little different, the teachers' faces are different, that same common mission of what you're just talking about, what made Villa so special for you, what made Prep so special for me, still resonates in those halls today. And those kids are still getting those same experiences that you and I got to become the people we've been able to become because of those experiences. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's pretty neat to see that carry through.
It is. It is.
But yeah, okay. Well, that has been a lot of different questions I was firing at you. But I appreciate the time, Abby. It's been great. I know our listeners will appreciate hearing your expertise in HR, hearing about your background and your journey and the things you did. But definitely thank you as well again for all the service you've done, not just to the community, but also here at Prep and with the Prep Villa community as well.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And I owe a lot of it to my parents who sent me to Villa and the wonderful people that supported me throughout that experience.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And we appreciate you, Abby. Thank you.
Thanks, Jimmy.